Aloha. Welcome to Holistic Wellness Revealed. I'm Leticia Sharp, and together we're going to take a ride on this journey of the infinite possibilities that holistic wellness has to offer. Today, I'm delighted to introduce and welcome my good friend and mindset coach, Rachel Smith. Hi, Rachel. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Tish?
I'm great. I'm really excited to have you on the show today. And it was kind of funny when I asked you, I texted over, what should we talk about? And I gave you a list, a long grocery list of all the things that we could talk about. And you said, what? Fear? I love fear. It's kind of an interesting response because a lot of people don't have that response, and the name of this show is What You Fear, You Draw Near. And I'd like to share the Webster's Dictionary definition of what fear is, and then get a little help from you about how you approach fear. So fear is an unpleasant, often strong emotion caused by anticipation or awareness of danger. What do you feel about fear?
For myself, I've always taken the hard road. So with that comes challenge and resistance to some degree, which was the unknown. So the unknown to me was always, you feel that uncertainty that's attached, that uncomfortability with that I decoded as fear, and got really comfortable with it. I'm really comfortable with being uncomfortable in that uncertainty. And like I said, I always chose the hard path. So as a kid, I was doing, me, not knowing any different, usually getting myself in trouble, and then was on my own at a young age. So it was really kind of my natural state of kind of charging at that.
Is there a particular experience that led you to be able to become comfortable with the uncomfortable?
Nothing in particular other than you have to do what you're confronted with, right? When life kind of presents you that you don't have a choice, it's just like strength, like you don't know how strong you are until you're put in that position to have to be. And I think with fear, it was a matter of either I fulfill my purpose or my desires or connect with that, or it just doesn't happen. No one was going to rush in and like figure it out for me or take care of it for me. So it just didn't happen. And I wanted what I wanted so badly that I was willing to like charge at that fear.
Okay. When did it first start to present itself in your life? I know you've shared some of your personal experiences about growing up, and to me, those experiences would have created a lot of fear in a normal person, and maybe they did, and then you found a way to work through it. I don't know. Do you feel comfortable sharing that story?
Sure, of course. Like I said, for myself, growing up, I didn't do the easy thing. My parents were teenagers when they had me, so they were kids, having kids, and did their best. But with that, it put me in a position. I've always been real vocal, and I'm a verbal processor, and the communication was a challenge in the household. And, with my mouth not shutting up or wanting to, figure things out, I was always confronted with that. And as a result, was on my own at a really young age, and I was homeless for some time just because I was under 18. And that presented a whole lot of challenges that, again, I felt that I didn't really have an option to dwell on the fear. It was a fight or flight kind of thing, right? It was really like survival mode. And with that, it really strengthened a muscle of that uncertainty. And with that, it's just grown that I keep pushing myself outside my comfort zone, but listening to my heart with the desires that I have to charge at it in a more authentic or intuitional way.
So I like that you brought up the fight or flight response, because either we're running towards our fears or we're running away from them. And I know that you are a charger. And I have seen you run towards your fears before, and you've shared some really interesting stories with me. And I know that you're afraid of heights. I'm not uncommon, right? A lot of people are afraid of heights. And you told me a story about something with the Special Olympics.
Yes, yes, yes. Going through, being younger and all of that survival mode. And then I got married and then started to get comfortable. And with that, I kind of painted myself in a box of complacency a little bit. And that triggered, after so long of being there, it triggered something in me that wanted to push myself outside my comfort zone. So I saw, which I normally never would, in the mail, the Veil packs. And it was like Over the Edge Special Olympics Challenge, rappel, raise $1,000 and rappel down the Hyatt building in Waikiki. And I was like, okay, I'm petrified to ask people for money. And I am definitely afraid of heights. So I think I'm going to do this. And I told my husband at the time, and he's like, all right. And I did it. And I felt so alive as a result of that reactivated that kind of confirmation. Then on the other side of that fear, right, was really my aliveness, my true essence, that I now try to induce regularly. In regards to, even this past year, I went skydiving for my birthday, because I was like, all right, I'm going to do something scary and like remind myself that I'm still alive and I should honor that. And it was a fun but scary, very scary experience.
So, I mean, this brings up the point of me really wanting to talk about this today on the show, is that when fear happens, we somehow have to come to terms and evaluate, identify, and either jump through the fear or befriend that fear, or allow it to kind of control our actions. And was there anything at all that you remember like saying to yourself or thinking to yourself about, it's going to be okay because, and like sort of negotiating with your fear?
Well, for me, I feel like it's a trigger to just uncover what is unknown to me.
Mm.
So if it's been in business, it's just I'm not educated, so I need to level up, right? I just need to put my big girl pants on and go take a course or YouTubes or ask someone or get a mentor, which is uncomfortable because it's new. But I feel that with that, it's just me acknowledging that unfamiliarity. Right. That's all it really is. Of if I, it's not going to kill me. Right. It's just in my mind, there's a block or something that's not familiar or something that's kind of throwing me off, that for me, it triggers wanting to uncover that.
So one time you told me, well, I really like this. So you talk about uncovering it. And one time, I keep saying one time, you described fear as the wrapping paper of a gift that is yet uncovered. And I feel like fear is that. Fear is a gift. And once we find that gift that we're afraid of, or that fear is presenting to us, then we are able to move forward because we find the power.
Yeah, I agree. I think of it just a smidgen differently, but similar, that I think fear is just the wrapping paper on the outside of the present, meaning that I have to get past that fear to see the gift inside, which is my desire, right? On the other side of this fear, inside is the actual gift. What I really want and who I really am is on the other side of that fear. And recognizing that doesn't let it be the end block, right? It's not just, the period at the end of the sentence. It's really, that's just the starting point to rip past it, and have to be vulnerable, and find some, unknown confidence to, to just keep pushing through it to get to that other side.
Right. And I mean, that also, even just the definition from Webster says that it's an emotion. And how do we really, emotions are just energy moving, right? And even if you're honest about your emotions, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's your truth or that that's any truth at all. So as we just move through and find the next space of being able to have a different emotion, which is maybe safety or not having the fear, then we can move there. And how do you, I'd like to hear what you have to say about mentally conditioning your thought patterns.
Well, for me, I just look at it as a compass. And I recognize that sometimes I'm triggered with those fears to really understand that just because that was my mental conditioning growing up, or that was modeled to me, or whatever that is bubbling up, it doesn't actually define me, right? It doesn't, again, it's just a trigger. It's a compass for me internally to kind of challenge myself. And I think too, when we believe something, right? If you've seen something occur, like miracles, if you've seen something happen, then you have a belief in it, right? Then you can say, or you've seen someone else that you know have gotten past something, then that almost can fuel you to then believe that can happen for you, right? And it's kind of, I feel like, connecting to, something that allows you to get past that then, and not let that block really hold on to where you're at. And for me, when I'm from the Chicago area originally, and I came here in 2005, and I thought someday if I win the lottery, I would love to move to Hawaii. I didn't win the lottery. But one day I was like, what am I waiting for? Just do it. I'll figure it out. It's kind of, it's not going to be unknown, and that's okay. And so, put the house on the market, sold everything, Craigslist, garage sales, donating. Two bags of clothes and the dog, was on a plane and didn't even have somewhere to live off the plane. I was like, all right, I'll figure it out. And I didn't let that rule me.
So you really jumped into the unknown, and you're okay. You're better than okay.
Well, I think my desire has gotten me from like that childhood experiences. It's strengthened this muscle of faith in my intuition that's guiding me first and foremost, but then secondarily faith in the universe that the desire is there and I'm supposed to pursue it. I don't want to make excuses just because I don't see a way right now. And then honoring that pull.
Yeah. And fears, they can really create a lot of havoc in our physical bodies. I know I was looking through Louise L. Hay book. I'm a big fan, and she's really helped to define a lot of the ways that I approach wellness through mental patterns and how they can show themselves and manifest in your physical body. And I was looking through the book, and there's like, every single page has at least 1 or 5 references to fear, from everything from a headache to stepping forward in your life. It's fear of the unknown, fear of being, rejected, fear of being abandoned, fear of, there's a ton, right? And so how do we actually be like, okay, create that safety within ourselves? I know that even when you do create the safety, like physically, you jumped out of a plane, right? How do you describe like physical danger?
I really feel the only real fear I have is knowing I could potentially die. And so it's weighing the odds out, if you will. Like I declare myself a medium pluser when it comes to hiking. There's a lot of people we know oh too well on Cocoa Head and other places on island that are very brave. And I equate it almost to eating spicy food. right? We all have a different idea of what spicy is. Same with, what's a scary hike or what are you afraid of, right? We all have our own limits and thresholds of our safety and our security with that. So for myself, I will not be getting out on any, thin ridge lines hikes because, one gust of wind and I'm gone. And that to me is a physical danger of my life that I'm not, it makes me so anxious that that uncomfortability outweighs the benefit, if you will.
Mm. I know exactly what you're talking about because as you mentioned, we do Cocoa Crater, and I heard one morning somebody was coming down and she said, oh, now I have to go over this bridge, and it was a lot easier in the dark because I couldn't see what was below me. And I felt like everything was fine, but now it's light out and I can see and I'm scared and I don't want to go over. So that's the whole ignorance is bliss, right? And how can we do that with our minds? Like allow ourselves to just let go of those inadequacies. And then there's also, I have a picture of when I was in Colorado, and I found it fascinating because, oh yeah, here's the picture. So on the left side, you can see the tabletop that I'm standing on. It's so high up and huge drop. I mean, you would die. You wouldn't just be injured, you would definitely die. And then on the right side of the picture, you can see I'm doing tree pose, but my little foot is just on my ankle because I'm so scared. And I've got a huge area that I'm in there. And then I'm at home at my mom's house and I'm standing on maybe a foot wide, maybe 2 feet at the top ledge. And I'm how high? Maybe I'm 10 feet above the ground. So my death factor is decreased. And I was able to do that pose easily and hold it for a really long time because I didn't have the fear. And I think that says a lot. I hear stories about that all the time. Like I knew I was safe, but what I was seeing, what my eyes were telling my body is that I wasn't safe. And I really would like to, like, how can we get past that?
I think confidence is the key. But I've talked about in the mindset coaching that most people think I need to have the confidence and then I'll do X, Y, Z. When it's the opposite, you don't have the confidence. You have to do it and practice it before you can start to get confident with it. So we all have to just, obviously, assess our situation. So we're not going to harm ourselves or anyone else. But at some point, it's a matter of surrendering and letting go and listening to our heart and not letting what we see with our eyes or our past experiences of ego, right, warping our current perspective in a way that's stifling our, ability to be present or to pursue who we're meant to be.
Yeah. I like that radical surrender. Just surrender to the process. And that's kind of what what you did. You let go in so many ways and experiences in your life. You let go of what that outcome was going to be. And you just visualized the highest outcome, and whatever came. So I feel like that moves us into talking about spiritual fear consciousness. And how do you resource your spiritual safety?
I've become so comfortable in my uncomfortability that to me, safety is just that uncomfortability. Like that uncertainty is confirmation that I'm alive. And with that, I tie that to my reverence for life. Mm-hmm. I've, years ago, nothing happened. I didn't have a near-death experience. I hear this from people that, have had that. But I really honor each day as if it's my last. We don't know when our last day is going to be. So for me, it's, run at love. I've been through 2 divorces and I will continue to jump off the cliff with love because you don't know, right? And we have one life to live. whether, it's with business ideas, and talking with clients that I help them bring their ideas to life or get through things. And it's really, we're not invincible. We aren't immortal. And it's really honoring our life, right? Honoring this day, honoring the present moment with mortality motivation, knowing that, one day will be our last. And I don't want to have any regrets. I want to, they say, go big or go home. I'm not going home. I'm going big every single time. And, I jump off the cliff proverbially, and I knit my, parachute on the way down every time, which is out of most people's comfort zone. I've just kind of strengthened that muscle within myself that it isn't logical in most instances, but the universe always complies. And I like I said, I anchor in, it's not an ego or in something that's outside of me or how it looks. It's really being authentic to my true self. And when I do that, either I'm going to learn a lesson, like fall on my face and learn a lesson, and which makes me better, or I'm going to soar. And either which way, I'm moving in the right direction to honor today. Because I don't, like I said, I cannot say it enough. I don't want from my last day, whether I know it's coming or not, to ever have any regrets that I didn't do, like, why didn't I take that opportunity? Or why didn't I, say that I love you? Or, why didn't I do something that my heart wanted me to?
I love that. I've never heard that mortality motivation. Did you come up with that?
No, I listen to a lot of books, and it's been referenced in different ways, but I couldn't even tell you who exactly it is. But it's really just having a reverence for life, and I think we all can experience that in different ways, whether someone gets an illness, right? Or they go through a divorce, or, it happens in different ways, but I think it's just happening for us, not to us. To become our best versions of ourselves and really awaken and allow us again to get to the inside of the present. To not get past the wrapping paper of fear so that we can honor our best versions of ourselves and do our best until we know better, and then we'll do better, but we have to honor that with momentum to some degree and strengthening that muscle of fear.
Yeah. Getting back to that purpose, that gift. I like that a lot. That resonates for sure. So talk to me a little bit about how you help your clients. Let's move on to some practical ways that our viewers can take home with them today about what they can do to be able to help them get in touch with their fears and move through them or with them to another level.
Yeah, well, I think the first great question is understanding and feeling what we're feeling. It's never about stuffing it or dismissing it, that whole fight or flight thing, understanding what role it plays. And then for myself as a coach, it's never advice. It's really about empowering and knowing that each individual uniquely has the answers within themselves, right? Like you have a different truth than myself. We're all on our own path. And then just asking questions versus giving advice or a framework of, just do X, Y, Z and you'll, make it to your pot of gold. It doesn't quite work that way. It's asking mindful questions, open-ended questions. Okay, so what are you afraid of? I'm afraid I'll fail. Okay, well, what would failure look like? What would be the worst thing that could happen for you? Asking and peeling back these onion layers of mindful questions to unravel, not only identifying what the fear is, but what is that fear anchored in? And what would it look like to unlock that for yourself? And giving yourself space and grace to be vulnerable or to even not know. It's okay to not know right now or sometimes. And that's beauty in itself. But you've planted the seed with awareness and the right questioning, to, again, take the baby steps to get past that, to honor that part of yourself and then move forward.
I like that a lot. So once you do ask the questions and you identify these things for yourself, then isn't it important to share it, right? Let's share it. And then that comes with the consistency that creates the confidence that you're talking about.
Yeah, that, and I think also coupled with just taking massive action. Whether you are 100%, which you're probably not going to be, take action. And then that simple act of action is going to be visible to your surroundings, your people, right? Your children, your neighbors, your friends. And that's empowering in itself. When you see someone else do that, it's motivation and inspiration, or at the very least, depending on where they are in their journey, it bubbles up a trigger. Maybe it's not positive, but it's uncovering something within them. That's, you know what I mean? Like, I can't believe they did that, or, that was irresponsible, or they're cheering you on. Either way, people are taking notice of that. And don't underestimate that you are a role model. By being authentically the best version of yourself and honoring that. So, discovering it, unfolding what's behind that, and then taking the action to practice, to become confident and work through that. And, again, what is the biggest thing that's going to really happen? You might be embarrassed. Well, who cares? Like, everyone's so worried about themselves that they're not going to even probably be thinking about you in 10 minutes, So it's really, we're kind of could be our own worst enemies sometimes,
Right. And I think that, what you're talking about is loving all parts of ourselves, right? Finding that radical acceptance of loving our fears, basically. I know that I was practicing sacrificing my inadequacies, which is a practice that I learned last year from a teacher of mine. And I was like, I'm going to do that when I go surfing. And so I went and I totally sacrificed and gave up my inadequacies in surfing. And I thought I was going to have the best surf session ever. I went out and got spanked. I got slapped down. And I was like, what happened? Like, honestly, what just happened? And I realized that when I went in, what I was sacrificing was not really in love. I wasn't identifying and being like giving value to the fear that I had, because that fear served a purpose. It kept me alive many times in the water, kept me from going over the falls and being held under for too long and going out when I had no business being out there. So, once I realized that, oh, wow, I needed to befriend that fear. I needed to really go into counsel with it and talk to it and say, hey, okay, you've served me. Thank you. I love you. And then I could actually sacrifice being in fear and letting it control me, and then really see, where does it serve me? And if it shows up and it's serving me, then say, okay, I'm here to listen, Yeah. So
well, I think it's an alignment. It's an alignment and a balance, and then not letting it rule you.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm super happy to have this conversation, and I know we're going to talk about it more. And I encourage our viewers to have conversations about what drives you. How do you find a way to love yourself through your fear and to love your fears? Rachel, it's always a gift to have you, and I love your insights. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of our sponsors and our donors, and to ThinkTech Hawaii for giving us a platform to be able to have these discussions and these conversations. And remember, you have the answers that your body, mind, and spirit require in order to live a happy, healthy, and whole life. Aloha.
Thank you so much for watching ThinkTech Hawaii. If you like what we do, please like us and click the subscribe button on YouTube and the follow button on Vimeo. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and donate to us at thinktechhawaii.com. Mahalo.